we are um, actually currently in the middle of the day today. Anyways, welcome to AMC and ADD, where we buy, hold, and screw the hedgy. Let's see. Let's figure out what's going on here for the day today. Um, I guess we'll kind of start with some of the technicals because there's so much to cover right now. But I do apologize for no rocket entry into the day to day. I kind of felt like it'd be inappropriate coming into the middle of the day and doing like a rocket entry, even though the price does seem to be kind of taking off right now. Let's look at a couple of the things that are going on here. So available shares to borrow is up at about 1.7 million. Now I noticed when I had looked earlier this morning it was at 10,000 or something like that. So they had borrowed like the 600,000 shares that were there, and then it went down to 10,000, and then they sold or they brought a whole bunch back here. So there's 1.7 million showing currently, with the ETFs looking like they were pretty much untouched from last Friday. One thing that was important to note: there was a lot of strange things that happened last Friday. Um, the one thing that really kind of stood out in my mind out of all of the strangeness that was happening was that the short percentage, which according to this is the amount of volume that is shorted, drastically increased from 49.1%. And you can look at this list here, and there's nothing in the 60s. And now all of a sudden we have a 61.4%. It looks like the previous one recently that was the highest or even the closest might have been a 57.1 in here. So just absolutely massive amount of shorted volume. Short exempt volume only hit 186 though, so that was lower. And if you'll notice the true demon indices that are showing up on the page here, short exempt volume has not hit the goal that it needs to hit. Utilization's at 94.51%. I'm calling that a goal or a hit goal. I put a 1 on the far side over there, meaning that we've hit 1 day worth of utilization being where it needs to be. And then day over day price increase, it was only a 1.4% price increase, but if you'll remember correctly, we had a 12% increase the day before that. So if you took some of that Thursday percentage increase and added it to Friday's percentage increase, then we're averaging about 13%, 13 to 14% over 2 days, which does meet our target of 5% over 3 days. So I have a 2 next to that because that was 2 days in a row that we hit that. So if we're positive by, I guess, let's see, 12, 13, if we're positive by 2% today, let's see, 12, if we're positive by 1.5% again today, I'm going to call it 3 days in a row of an average of 5% because that would be around 15% over 3 days. So we'll have two green indicators listed up on the page. So the only thing that we would be missing is that short exempt volume. So we need to watch that, and we'll know that a big price increase is coming when we see all those hit greens. Moving on, let's see what's next that I wanted to cover. Let's cover Ortex for the day today. So earlier in the day today when I had logged on, I think I saw the short share interest for the free float had been at like 16.3, I think it was. So it's dropped a little bit since then. The current amount of borrowed shares is at negative 0.125. Notice utilization is up nicely, right? I believe we were at 92% before on last Friday, and now we're at 94.51. So a nice increase there. Obviously, what determines utilization is how many shares are on loan divided by how many total shares are available, or you just take this shares on loan value right here and divide it by this utilization, and that gives you how many shares are available to loan. So then you can subtract the amount of shares on loan or that are available minus the amount on loan, and it gives you the remainder amount that are available to loan, which is currently, and I've updated these numbers here. Let me take away there you go. Which is currently at 6.167 million shares left available to borrow. So we've gone down from like 12 million in the last week or so to cutting it in half. And you can see from last Friday it was 8.379 million shares available to loan, and now it's down to 6.167. So as this number gets lower and lower and lower, we will see utilization get higher and higher and higher. So we're doing good things. Um, let's see. Earlier this morning, when I had done the shares borrowed, they had borrowed 4.36 million last Friday, but it looks like it's right now. I got to change this to 1.25 million. All right. I didn't increase my. I didn't change my volume prediction from last Friday. It's kind of late in the day to be making volume predictions fairly, and it's never. I don't really. It's not like I'm being held to like any kind of like. Uh, I guess contest or anything like that. So, I mean, I could just look at it right now. From what I was seeing this morning, we had like, let me remember if I can draw those numbers from the back of my head. I think we were at, hmm, I want to say, I think that we were at, I think it was 400, it might have been around 400,000, maybe it was 300,000 shares around 7 a.m., I think. I know that our 7 a.m. candlestick of volume was really low, and it would be this one right here. It was like 136, so we might have had like 260,000 shares maybe around that time, which would put us on a pace for like maybe 50 to 70 million shares traded for the day. And if you look at what we're on pace for right now, that would probably hold pretty close to true. So I'll put in 50 to 70 million, and you guys can just say I got an edge by coming in later into the day. Let's look at our options. I'm gonna have to refresh my Fidelity, so 1 second here. And I've actually added two-factor authentication to my Fidelity account, so it actually is going to take me a little bit longer to get into Fidelity now. It's I really didn't want to do this, but it's not. Well, I did some of the stuff, but I didn't go through everything. I did get price predictions from guys in the morning at around 7 o'clock. So what you see on the page here is correct as to what we have for price predictions around 7 o'clock this morning, just to kind of keep some continuity in how we're tracking. But let's see what our open interest is stemming around. So open interest um, for the calls is got a strike price of $35. Fair. With 15.9 thousand open contracts. Let's see if we still got those big, huge ones down at the 120 mark. Looks like I'm gonna have to tell this to do more. Huh. I recall this allowing me to do. I'll figure it out later. There's a way to make this do all strikes, but for some reason it doesn't seem to be doing it. Let's try it again. Interesting. So it's not showing strike prices all the way up to 120, which I'm not sure why that is. I mean, it could mean that there is none out there, but I don't think that's what it means. All right, well, we'll just pull 80 for right now. At 6.7 thousand options. These are our lottery ticket people. We like those people. Let's see. On the call side of it, for today's volume is currently still is around $35 as well. No, I'm sorry, I take that back. It's at 40, and it's 14.3. For the puts, it looks like our biggest level of open interest is at $30 with 6.8. So that's exactly where we left off last week. So the only thing that really dropped in open interest is the call side. It dropped from a 40 strike price down to 35. Volume currently for the day, though, however, is still at 40. On the put side, it is at, for volume for current days, 30. That's dropped a little bit from Friday, and that's 8.3 thousand. Okay. So let's talk about probably one of the biggest things that we can talk about. There's only 3 hours left of the trading day today, and basically what I'm going to do today is I'm going to cut the show off like normal time at 3, but then an hour later I'm going to come back on just a little bit before 4 o'clock my time, which is 5 Eastern, and that's when the um, quarterly meeting is going to be showing up for all of us to watch. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna start a new stream for the quarterly meeting, and we can discuss those things. So what I'm also going to do is, in case you don't want to hear me, and I'm okay with that. If you don't want to hear me and you just want to hear just the interview, or the meeting rather, then I'm gonna go ahead and post that up here so you guys can see what that is. And if you want to visit it later, you can use this link to get there. So I'll pin that up there for you guys. That's the link to get you to be able to sign into the meeting and be able to listen to it. I do believe that it requires you to put in a little bit of information about yourself, not anything too terrible, but you do have to put in like I think your name and maybe your email address or something like that. But nothing too bad. So, anyways, moving on. This is the important thing that I think a lot of people want to be hearing about right now. We did have that SATEC voting that was given to us by Adam Aaron as a means for people to vote on questions for the meeting. And of course, we all used it as a means to be able to see how many average shares there are per person who's voting on these questions. And of course, Timothy B's question of, do you have any plans to offer a dividend again, came up as the #1 question, and everybody started voting on that one. So congratulations to Timothy B for being the #1 question. So how many shares did he get? He got 67.7 million shares with 63,516 people um, who voted. So we're gonna do some simple math here, and I'm gonna show you how I kind of got to the numbers I got to. We're gonna go the birds down here. 67 67.7 million shares. Hold on a second. Hey there. All right. We got a visitor. This is Ozzy. Hi, Ozzy. He wants to sing to us. We have 67.7 million shares divided by the amount of people who voted. And that gives us 1,065 shares per person who did the voting. So let's keep that to the side for just 1 second. We'll come back to that. And I'll show you why that's important here in just a minute. We're going to come over to a page called this is surveysystem.com, and basically you can do a sample size calculator. So if you want to determine your sample size that you need in order to get like a good assured level of confidence in predicting something, you can do that by plugging in some numbers in here. But one of the things that you need is a confidence interval. And to find the confidence interval, you have to take your sample size based on the confidence level that you want, your population, and the percentage. And you're probably going like, well, what's percentage? And I know I did too. But basically, when you scroll down to the bottom down here, it says when determining the sample size needed for a given level of accuracy, you must use the worst case percentage, 50%. You should also use this percentage if you want to determine a general level of accuracy for a sample you already have. So essentially, what this is saying is that 50% of our people who answered in our sample size could have picked something above or below the average. We don't know what we know what the average is. We just calculated it. The average was 1,065 shares, but we're not really sure. It could be a little more, could be a little less. So our percentage is 50%. So we calculate that, and it gives us a confidence interval of 0.51. So we enter that 0.51 up here, and in our confidence interval, then we put in our population, the 4.1 million people that we know of, right? There's plenty more than that, but we know of 4.1 million retail investors. And we hit calculate on that, and it says the sample size that you need in order to come up with a good sample size, in order to find out what your averages are to within a plus or minus half a percent of 99% is 62,996. Well, congratulations to us because we got 63,516, which was just ever so slightly higher, which is good. However, I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to say that I'm not confident enough to say that 1,065 is a total number, and I'm going to take it a step further and say half of this number divided by 2 is the median of everything that we could possibly have had from votes from the smallest to the absolute largest. Now that's a lot to cut it by, especially when this is saying that our sample size needed is already eligible for being considered as a 99%. I guess I want to call it goodness to fit, but we're going to go ahead and cut this number in half just to say that on a worst case scenario. Now, when we cut that number in half, and then we multiply it by the 4.1 million shareholders that we have, we get 2.185 billion outstanding shares. Now, this number that I had been formulating or calculating throughout the time that the votes were going through started at about 2.5, I think, around there. Maybe it was 2.6, and has dropped ever since more voters came in and started voting. But we've settled on 2.185. I can comfortably sit here and tell you that I believe, based on the numbers that we're getting, that the absolute bare minimum amount of outstanding shares is at 2.185 billion shares, which is absolutely incredible. That doesn't include how many shares the institutions own. That doesn't include how many shares the insiders own. So those are good questions if you're asking right now, what are those values? Currently, institutional shareholders own 116 million shares. I can pull that up on NASDAQ and show it to you right here. If I refresh this, I had refreshed it earlier this morning. Let's see what it's at now. Okay, 115.9. So it's 116 million shares are owned by the institutions. And this is according to NASDAQ, NASDAQ.com. And it's a pretty good number. That's a huge number. When you consider that there's only 513 million point 33 five. So let me say that again. 513.33 million total outstanding shares. For them to own basically 1/5 of the entire everything is pretty amazing. Insider holdings. I'll pull that data up for you because you can actually find that. And I went through and I calculated it out already, just to kind of save some time. But if you come into Ortex, now this is what's being reported by Ortex. I don't believe that there's any information in here that would lead me to believe that there's anything less than what's currently showing in here. So I went ahead and added up all these. I went through every single one of these current insider positions, added them all up, and I came out with, let me find out what I came out with. I believe it was like 68 million. Let me see if I can find it. just want to make sure I'm giving you guys the right number. I had posted it, and I've made a few comments since, so I gotta find it in my list of comments here. Uh, nope, that's not it. That's not it either. Okay, well, I can't really find it right this second. I'll come up with it later, I'm sure. Probably just accidentally run across it, but I believe it was 68 million shares. So, if you want to just add up the institutional ownership of 116 million plus the 68 million that I was referencing to the insiders. Oops. Then you get 2.369. Wow, that's just an absolute amazing number. I was kind of talking back and forth with somebody that I'm going to be interviewing here pretty soon, and we were talking. I asked the question first. I said, "Are you happy with the turnout?" And the question was given back to me. Am I happy with the turnout? I'm actually not happy with the amount of people that turned out. Apparently, it's enough for us to be able to kind of get like a good example, a good sampling of the amount of a rough guesstimate of like kind of average voters and how many shares they may have, a good sample size. However, what I don't think though is that we had enough people for a just on AMC stock alone on Reddit, for example. I believe that there's 400,000 people who use. Yeah, it's 406,000 people who use that, and to say that we got like less than 100,000, less than a quarter of those, I'm kind of surprised. I thought there would have been more. However, privacy being an issue, I guess it kind of makes a little bit of sense to me. But I was definitely perplexed by those numbers, by the fact that there was so few that showed up to vote for the questions. But it is what it is, and we got a good sampling size, which is all that we really needed because with the amount of data that we have currently, I think it's very easy to come back and say that there is by far um, way too many outstanding shares out there to account for. So just be rest assured in the idea that if there's any DD that you want to take away from any of this, and I'm going to go ahead and put this number here, this 2 point or 3, what is it, 2.369. I'm going to put it in parentheses because that includes plus institutional ownership. 2.369. We'll just call it 737 billion. 2.37. So I was doing rough calculations back in March based off of kind of volume levels and how AMC was trading on volume levels, and the numbers that I was coming up with was 2 billion shares back in March. Um, so what are the factors that I think that are wrong that give us a much larger than this floor of 2.369? One of them is that we have more than 4.1 million outstanding shareholders. For every million shareholders that you add to that, it gives you an additional 500 million shares, right? Because I mean, all we got to do is that we'll just take that number that we had before, which was total amount of shares that were voted on, which was 67.7, divided by the total amount of people who voted. That gave us 1065, right? So, and then I just divided it by half. But if you multiply that number right there alone by a million, So every single million people you add 532 million shares to the amount of outstanding shares out there. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, well, how many more million people do we have in this stock, and to equate for an entire float or an entire outstanding shares? Because for every single million people we add to that 4.1, it gives us that many outstanding shares. I mean, the outstanding shares right now is basically this number. So how many more million is there than 4.1? If there was a third of North America, anybody who's in North America, I think, is counted in this vote. Anybody outside of North America isn't. So if we said that there was a third more, you could easily, I guess you could easily say that there's like 1.5 million more. So that gives you like almost nearly another billion, or at least really close to it. So now you're looking at instead of 2.37, you're looking at 3.37 plus another half, so close to 4 billion shares. Now that's just adding people. You have to remember that I cut my number in half. Even though the sampling size says that the amount that we sampled was enough, um, if there is indeed, if that is an actual sample size and it's good enough, then it would be double the amount of outstanding shares. So if we're at really 4 billion, and you have to double that number because we do have 1,000 and whatever 65 shares per person or per shareholder, then you're looking at an 8 billion, an 8 billion outstanding shares. And I mean, if that doesn't just swamp your mind, I don't know what will, because this will be beyond epic of all epic squeezes ever. This will be the most epic of squeezes. There won't be another squeeze like this ever, and nothing will even come close to comparing to it. Just because of all the different laws that they're putting into place now to make sure this doesn't happen again. So keep that in mind. You know, if there's ever anything, I think this is one of the things that always kind of encouraged me the most, when I did my March modeling and figured that there was about 2 billion shares in circulation at that time. In order to see the volume, in order to see that people were selling, you would have to see massive quantities of shares being sold to try to cover 2 billion shares. Now we're at 4. I would be comfortable to say that they were at least at 4 billion shares, although I'm putting up 2.37. I can't say how many extra voters we have for sure, but that coupled with the fact that I think my number being cut in half is too low, you add those two together and you get 4 billion easily. Um, so if we're at 4 billion shares, try to imagine how long it would take to cover 4 billion shares, right? What if 500,000 people all decided to sell their shares, and we had 4 billion shares, it would take one, two, three, four, five, six. Well, it's 8 days at 4 billion. It would take 8 days at one share a person, uh, at 500 million. I mean, it's just you'd have shares trading. I mean, this is why they're going to have to put a stop to the trading. I'm almost positive of it. I mean, once this starts to unravel, I don't see any way for them to not stop the trading intraday. They'll have to stop the trading, and they'll have to start doing some kind of recovery of shares that are out there, and it's going to take a while. For the day today, I have everybody's prices listed in their normal colors that are on here, and we're all underneath right now. All of us guessed pretty low. Um, I can tell you right now that part of the reason why I guessed low today was I looked back at the last quarterly meeting, and we traded about, I think it was 2% less day over day when we had the last quarterly meeting. So I kind of went, well, low volume today, quarterly meeting happening. I could see him dropping the price. But lo and behold, here we are up 3% on the day. I'm not going to argue because I'm always happy when we have green days like today. The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting was, and it's probably not, it won't hold true now. Nope, it still holds true. We have a inflow of 271 million versus an outflow of 274. So we're up. We have a green day today with a negative outflow by 3 million. How strange is that? Like normally it's the other way around. Like we have a positive inflow and yet we're still down. This is backwards. I was looking at this morning. I was just kind of like, I don't know if you guys sense that there was some frustration that I may have had last week on Friday. And there was. It was because so many weird things were happening. We started off the day with what appeared to be something like 130 to 150 million share traded day. And the volume just tanked like at 10 a.m. my time. And it just disappeared. And then all the indicators that were happening, all the flags that would normally represent what a stock would do, like parallel channels broke. This one actually right here broke the correct direction, but there were just things that were happening that were just so confusing, and I just had no idea what to make of most of it. Well, when today started, I started looking at the stuff and I was like, man, this is really feeling a lot like the end of last week. So that's part of the reason why I kind of predicted. I actually had the highest prediction in prices out of anybody with a ending value of 33. But I went ahead and created a wedge. I'm sorry, this is a triangle. I created a triangle based off of what I was seeing. You'll notice that one of these kind of spikes past it, but I did this at a 5 minute interval, and it's still spiking past it. Why does it do that? So strange. So I actually had this line going way out into tomorrow, and for some reason, after I made my modification, it decided to put it back for me. So it's like midday tomorrow that this triangle ended. I don't know why Webull does that to me though. Anyways, this indicator, this triangle that I just created here, recreated. Um, this is an indicator, a bullish indicator, because the flat edge of the triangle is on the top, whereas the lower edge of the triangle is forming into the top here. So you always break out towards the flat edge. So this is kind of what we should see is some consolidation here as time goes on, maybe throughout the night tonight until we get to a certain point. And maybe the breakout might happen at the beginning of the day tomorrow, or it could happen just slightly before hours. I typically don't, it's not very often that it makes it all the way into the wedge or triangle. And I usually count back like 30 minutes to an hour interval, which would probably be 10. But because I drew this on a 5 minute scale, you have to kind of like draw back a little bit further. So yeah, I'd say right about open time, you might see if I drew a box around it, it might look a little something like this. Maybe like in that time frame. But I mean, like I said, today is acting super, super strange, just like it did last week. Um, they're showing return shares. You can pull that back up on Ortex over here. Typically, when we see price increases, they've borrowed more shares, and that's not necessarily the case today. They've actually returned. Okay, that's less than they had returned earlier. I'll go ahead and modify that. Earlier they had returned 1.25 million, but now it's down to 956. So up days like last Friday when they borrowed 4.36 million shares and we had an up day. Not by very much, but we did. That's usually what you see. So again, some just kind of weird signals that aren't following the normal patterns. I think seeing utilization go up is a good thing. Seeing short share interest go up at 16.13 now is a good thing. Um, Seeing our indicators, I'll put the indicators back on. Most of our tally indicators by True Demons methodology on the short volume utilization and day over day prices starting to look good. We have if today ends up higher than what did I say? I think a 1.5% increase today. Then I'm going to put a green box for that bottom one. So we've got 2 out of 3 green boxes. The only thing we're missing is short exempt volume. And if they found a way to hide that somehow, then or not report it correctly, then there might be reason to assume that that big price increase is coming. Or if the big price increase happens without that short utilization spiking up like it's supposed to, then we'll know something's wrong with the reporting. Let's see here. But yeah, kind of just an interesting day today. Hard to make out exactly what's going on, but it's just another AMC kind of day. We're trading above the VWAP. Let's see, Robinhood is up to $57, which is almost $10, $9 higher than their original opening value of 48. Amazon is down 0.18%. Cinemark was down like 6% earlier this morning, and it's recovered some to 3%. Dogecoin, okay, I did not expect this, guys. I just really did not see this coming. If if you would have asked me, I would have said that right here we would have seen a dump off again. But we didn't. We saw it shoot up, it dipped down again, and then back up. It's running at 25 cents a coin, so it's doing better than I would have had anticipated. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to drop off again. GME currently up 7.6, 7.5% right now. It's looking really strong. Had a great morning. Um, it's just looking really good. I heard some information that was talked about having to do with Pokemon and GameStop and how they will possibly be having another game that's coming out that stems around augmented reality glasses, which is so funny. I had this conversation when my dad was still alive, so it was like 2 years ago, and I was still working for Samsung at the time. And one of the cool things about working for in the computer industry is you get to see what chips are going through the lines. They tell you who you're making them for, but they don't, or you can find that information out, but you don't really know what the chip's going to do exactly. But one of the things you can do is you can see where the large orders of chips are coming through. Well, I had this. I went to this hairstylist or barber, and they were doing my hair, and the guy and me were talking about semiconductors and the chips and all that kind of stuff, and he was asking me like what I thought was going to be the future, the next revolution, the next quote unquote like iPhone of the future. And I told him, I said, everybody's. He asked me, he said, "Do you think VR is it?" And I said, "No, I really don't think VR is it. I think VR is like an old, old, old technology. VR has been around since I was a kid. Back in the '90s, we used to have all kind of. Hey, crazy, how's it going? We used to have all kinds of VR stuff when we were kids, and I mean, it's not comparable to what you have now, but I mean, there was VR way back in the day." And I told him, I said, honestly, I think the way that we're going, let me remind you, this is like 2.5 years ago. I told him, I said, augmented reality, that's where it's going to be. Watch. You just watch. Augmented reality will be where we go. And the reason at that time, I think Apple glasses were kind of out and a newer thing 2.5 years ago. I'm not saying they were brand new, but they were newish. Um, I really think, according to what I'm hearing, this Nintendo game that they're doing, they've developed these specific glasses you can wear for the game. And so imagine basically Pokemon Go, where you wear a pair of glasses and you see Pokemon and other Pokemon players who are playing or have outfits on their actual person, and Pokemon following them around to wherever they go, and you're like actually out in the real open area doing stuff, catching Pokemon. Supposedly that's in the works for GameStop, and if they may be the sole provider for that game. Like you can't get the glasses or the game anywhere else except for going through GameStop. If that happens, like that's gonna be huge. GameStop is just gonna absolutely blow the f up. I mean, just blow the f up because I mean, if you know anything about Pokemon Go, in the U.S., it was just absolutely huge. It was huge everywhere, but it was big in the U.S. and people were like just walking around with their phones, doing crazy stuff, walking in the streets, and um, so there's some good news for GameStop if that stuff pans out. I do believe augmented reality is the way of the future. Um, you know, imagine like you won't have to carry around your phone with you. You can just have glasses on and it communicates through your phone, and you can make like hand motions or whatever. You can dial a phone number if you wanted to in the air. Or just there's just all kinds of ways you could interact with your phone without actually having to have it in your hands. You can wear your glasses on. You could have like something pull up like a interface that shows you like your directions where you're driving, and then it's not like something that would cause you to lose vision or anything. It'd be kind of like a low backdrop to it, but it basically would be an augmented reality where it shows you what's happening, or it could show you like um, it could show you obstructions that you may not be able to see at nighttime, right? Like it could actually go out and like pinpoint and put something like a box around it and say like hazard or something like that, a pothole that's coming up. Just so many applications that you could use augmented reality for. And if you just watch any movie like, I guess probably a good one would be like Minority Report, where you just, everything's integrated into hand motions and movements, and computers are just kind of integrated into your life. There's plenty of other movies to reference in regards to that, but that's pretty much the future. I mean, that's where these um, um, that would be where you're going to see things like they're trying to create phones that have bendable screens, or actually they have them already, but um, you know, the smaller these chips get, and the more, when they're flexible chips, especially, you can put them into products that um, like glasses or whatever that are really thin, and you can bend them or whatever, and it doesn't break it. That's we've got an exciting future ahead of us. But to see that incorporated into GameStop is going to make the company extremely profitable. So I'm excited to hear what Adam Aaron's going to talk about tonight in the second quarterly earnings meeting, which is at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and 4 o'clock Central Standard Time. I guess that would be 2 o'clock Western. So for those who are watching, Um, we are approaching in price up to $34.12, which is the level of resistance. We'll see if this triangle holds, this big ass triangle I drew out here that extends into tomorrow. My guess is that it should hold, but again, like I said, it's been doing some really crazy stuff. Yeah, definitely like walking around with a permanent HUD, and your HUD could do whatever you tell it to do. Like there could be applications that you apply to your HUD that allow you to, I mean, it could just help you in your daily job. I don't know, whatever, you could be looking at a computer screen, an Excel chart, and you could probably, or you could probably somehow manipulate it, or it could point out things or flaws. I don't know. There's just so many applications to it that um, it'd be amazing. But VR is not the future. And so many people get angry when I say that, because VR's, a lot of people I think feel VR, especially younger generations, they feel VR is kind of new, but it's not. It's really super old. I think the problem is that VR is was never able to become what it was supposed to be, um, and it's because it had limitations. The limitations were that you had physical health that you had to worry about when you shut off somebody's vision, right? And so now you have to encapsulate that person into a certain area and make sure that they don't move so that they don't get hurt. But you just simply I don't know what the GUR is for, but you put you put uh, you put augmented reality into it instead of this like entrapped place, and now you're suddenly able to interact with the entire world around you through this augmented reality, and that's why it makes it so much more. I guess in a way, if you wanted to say virtual reality is augmented reality, then fine, we can. I won't argue about that, but um, virtual reality in my mind is a something that's outside of the world and is separate. I think everybody inherently wants to interact in our world and the stuff that's around us, and I think it's more exciting when you can. Can you imagine like wearing these glasses like and looking up and it just automatically like points out all the constellations to you, just like you're like show me constellations and it just pops up everything. You're just like, dang, that's so cool. Um, there's just so many applications. So it does appear like it tried to test the $34.12 and then backed off a little bit here. So we'll see where we end up. But I don't know if we continue to follow this triangular pattern. I would think that we would probably tend to consolidate some more in here, and then maybe see a spike out sometime in the after hours. I know I got a box over here, but I'm so gun shy after last Friday. It's not even funny. I just I had such a hard time with last Friday. It was so difficult. Sorry. Um, but yeah, I think we're looking really good right now, especially with the indicators. True Demons indicators for MOAS trigger. Um, Tomorrow, the bottom number, the day over day price increase, if we as long as we close a percentage and a half higher than open today, then I'm going to go ahead and give us that third day because that would be an average of 15% in 3 days' time, which is that number that he wants for a target, 3 days of 5% or more. So we'll have utilization. I mean, it's pretty much right there. Utilization at 94.51, and then the only thing we're missing is that short exempt volume. That's the only thing that we're missing for a huge price increase. Now, I know people will keep talking about failure to delivers, and I'm still trying to look for an answer for this. People keep talking about 32 day, 30 and 32, 35 day. That's what it is. 35-day T35, and whether or not they're going to have to cover during that period of time. And I just don't know where or why people seem to think that there's failure to delivers that they haven't just kicked down the road. Because I mean, based on what Ortex is showing me, when you pull up failure to delivers, I mean it's I mean I can zoom in a little bit on this so you can see how much is actually there, but there's the numbers are low. Um, and so I feel like what they're saying is that the failure delivers that they'll need to cover are these right here, but it's like, but those are gone now. And the forward reporting, they're not there. And that's why we got off the reg show, which means that these don't exist. They got kicked down the road by borrowing more shares. So I don't know if I buy into that whole T35 thing. I would like to, if anybody has like a link or something that they want to point me out to kind of touch it maybe off in the after hours, and I can just kind of read up on some stuff and see where that's all coming from. I haven't seen True Demon talk about anything having to do with the T35. I would think that he would be talking massively about it if it was a thing, and I'm just not seeing it. So I'm just really just not sure where people are coming up with T35. But I do think that the T35 next cycle ends, I thought, this Wednesday. But again, I don't see where they would have to cover. So I don't know. Other people were saying that last Friday was T35, so I'm not sure. I do want to pull up. Let's go ahead and refresh on Fidelity and see where we're at here. We had fallen down the list in trends. Uh, I think we were at like spot 5 to start the day off. Actually, we're 2. Then we dropped down to 5, but then we picked back up to like third or something like that, or I think it might have been fourth. Maybe we recovered one spot. But Fidelity right now we are running third. I don't know where we were at this morning. I didn't look at it this morning. But it does say that we're currently we have 63% buys and 37% sells. I do not see GME on the list, not the top 10 list. They're 14th with a 71 to 29 ratio of buy versus sells. Hope you guys all had a great weekend this last weekend. I know I tried to enjoy my time as much as possible. Um, let's talk about COVID real quick. I've got one of my admins, I'm not going to say who, but one of my admins has COVID right now. Also, some of my family members have COVID right now. It's definitely picking up. The positive thing that I can take away from this is that I have not heard um, the death tolls being extremely high. But we do know that those do take a while for them to go through. But I think that this variant may be more contagious, but maybe not as deadly. So, but time will tell. We will see. But I don't believe that it impacts AMC in any kind of way because basically, um, I don't think that we're going to have anything beyond rolling shutdowns in certain cities, and that's not going to affect AMC. And AMC already said that they have enough money to last through another shutdown, so I'm not worried about it. But I am keeping it on my radar just because I do like to see what happens. I don't think I looked at the whole market yet as to whether or not it's declining or advancing, so let's let this update real fast here. I am kind of curious. Okay, so 3,223 advancers to 3,368 decliners. So the market is suffering slightly. The S&P 500 is down 0.06, the Dow Jones is down zero point 0.2, and the Nasdaq is up zero point 0.2. So it's just kind of a mix of I'm almost say it's almost 50-50. Let's see if the heat map changes down here. I am curious what sector. Banking sector is looking really strong in this heat map right here, but it'll change here in a second, and we'll see how it's changed. I was surprised to see the semiconductor industry having kind of a 50-50 on um, red over green. With there being a chip shortage, you would assume that this sector would be doing well. Did it just change while I wasn't looking? I missed it maybe. I feel like these were red just a minute ago. Okay, well I'll assume that this is the changed version, yeah, because I think oil and gas was green. Looks like oil and gas is definitely hurting. Software and IT services is kind of a mix. Semiconductor looks like it's pretty hurting. Computer software companies hurting. Healthcare looks like it's kind of a mix. Banking seems to be doing the best though, which is a surprise. Surprise, surprise. They never do bad, right? Yeah, so I would expect to see us like just kind of continuously bounce off this $34.12 level of resistance probably for the rest of the day today. Uh, I don't, I'm not really feeling like it's going to break above that. However, having said that, every single, like my price was the highest end quote price for the day today at $33. And where we stand right now, as long as we don't break outside of this triangle, even my price prediction, price prediction of the four of us, is going to be off. So, uh, slap to the back of our hands for trying to be so bearish on this stock. I think a lot of us were looking at low volume and at least I was looking at low volume and just going, wow, okay, today's going to be a red day, but pleasantly surprised. I don't see more shares being lent or borrowed, however you want to look at it. Short share interest is at 16.13%. I'm excited for this second quarterly earnings meeting. So the way I plan on doing it, and I'm not positive, but I think that I should be able to pause the meeting, and then like if there's a topic that I want to touch on, like if I feel like there's something he's talking about, Adam Aaron or whoever it may be, and it's something that I want to talk about, I will probably pause it and just make like kind of a note, something that I want to say that's important. But for the most part, I'm going to try and let the interview just run through the channel. I do think that, I mean, the whole point for me streaming is basically to have commentary. I think what I have to say isn't necessarily the most important thing, but this is my platform and where I get to say what I want to say, so I'm gonna say it. But I am excited. I'm excited. I'm pumped about this quarterly meeting. I think he's going to have a lot of information that's really good for us. I don't think that people are going to get what they want when it comes to him talking about anything having to do with the amount of votes or voters for the shareholder SATEC questionnaire. I don't think he's going to touch on that, and that's okay. We don't really need him to. For those of you who are joining right now, um, I kind of covered this morning that whole SATEC thing. I don't want to just kind of cover it all over again, but I'll just say that based on my estimates, 2.185 billion is the most conservative I would go in outstanding shares for the retail. When you add institutional and insiders, you get 2.37 billion. Um, there's two things that you need to add to that number. For every million people that you add of the 4.1 that we know of for shareholders, you add 500 million to this number. So if we have, for example, excuse me, 5.1 million or yeah, 5.1 million shareholders instead of 4.1, then this number would be 2.8 billion. If the numbers that I took were based off of basically half of the amount of total shares per shareholder on that vote. If you don't divide it by half and you just strictly count that as a good sampling size, which is there's definitely, and I already pulled this up today, the sample size is correct. The most amount of sampling of people that we would have needed to count for the correct amount would have been 62,996, and our total was 63,516. So according to this sample site here, that the sample size calculator, it's saying that we do indeed have enough people to count for a 99% confidence level at a plus or minus 50.5%. So basically like 98.5 to 99.5% confidence of the number. So if you did take that actual value, which was I think 1,600 or 1,068 shares or something like that. Actually, I should just do it on my. I'll just do it on my Excel right here, real quick. Equals this divided by this. That way, I can just see the number from now on. Yeah, 1,054 shares. So if you take 1,054 and you just say that's a good sampling, then you have to double my original number of 2.185, which is 4.2. Then you add in the institutional insiders values, and you get like something like 4.4 billion. And then every single million people that you add to that number as well, that's another thousand. It's another billion. Actually, it's another billion if you use the original value. If you half it, it's just half a million or half a billion. So I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the very bottom that I would say this could be is 2.37, but it could be as high as 8. That's a wide range, I know, and it's probably way wider than most people would like to see or hear. But there's definitely reason to believe that there's that the average shareholder does have, what was that number? 1,054 shares on average. And and then we know we've got more than 4.1 million. If you add another million in there, it doesn't take much, and all of a sudden you're at 8 billion. So use that. use that information when you're talking to people about this stock. Like if people want to challenge, like, what makes you think that the stock's going to be worth that much money? Especially like if they're trying to compare it to, say, for example, like any other stock, you can just say, yeah, well, how many stocks out there have two something billion shares that are over the amount that are supposed to be outstanding, and we have proof of it. That's that should be enough, more than enough of proof to anybody that this is going where it's going. This is going to squeeze. It's just a matter of time. This inflow versus outflow is so intriguing. This is backwards from okay. So now we're tied. So our inflow was lower earlier, and yet our price was still up, but now it's tied. It's 302 to 302. I would have expected to see a higher inflow than this with the amount that we're up by right now. I think I went digging for news at the beginning of the day today, and I really didn't see anything that like just jumped out at me. Oh yeah, I forgot about the light shed. Rich Greenfield. Rich Greenfield and what he was the co-founder of Light Shed. The dude's sitting there saying that apes are selling. He's literally saying to CNBC that the apes are selling and he can understand why. Dude, this guy is too much, man. I think he's a sucker for punishment. He keeps coming back for more. First he rates us as a penny stock, and then now he's coming back for more after he complained. I think he likes it. This is what somebody does when they're an attention seeker, because you couldn't possibly say what he's saying without knowledge of it. Actually, I would agree with him. We did have some on the last run. We did have some people who were selling, but those aren't people that I would call apes. Uh, True apes are diamond-handed, and that's not what we had. And it's okay. I know people are gonna sell. Not everybody's built for this fight. Some people are just built differently. I am looking for the lowest. I gotta pull up my information. I think 3016 the lowest we went on the last run down. Trying to find it here real quick. No, I didn't think so. 2857. Then we got up to 3472. Okay, right here, 3472, which was a 21% increase, and then we fell down to what was our lowest since then? 3157. Looks like 3157. This is just for my own purposes. So the last time we had, okay, so our last high on 8/6 was 3472, and then we hit a low of 3157, which was a 9.1% drop in price, which is not very much. And we've been going up since then, so I would almost have to delete my current low, and we could actually end up hit more new highs from the 3472 before we create a new low. It's a really weird way of tracking this. I developed something when I did modeling for GME, and you guys might not quite understand where I'm going with this, but um, I'll try to briefly explain it. So let's just start from scratch, right from where we're at right now. We're at $33.80. So let's say, for example, if you started today and you started tracking, right, and then all of a sudden it had a price drop to X amount of dollars, we'll just say 30. You would track that number, right? And then as the price increased, you would track the next high price, okay? Uh, if the next high price is significantly higher, say like 15% or higher, then you track it, right? And you record that number until it stops getting higher. And then that's now your new high. So you now have a new high, and you're going to track the next time it starts to dip in price, you're going to track the new low. The new low has to hit at least 19 and 19 point. 5% of a drop from that high in order to record that low, and that gives you your new highs and lows. And so this is where my synthetic price failures come in, and you have to hit like 20% in order for those to be considered synthetic price failures. Right now at 31.57 that we had, what was that, yesterday or in the aftermarket hours on Friday? No, it was actually on Friday. On Friday in the morning when we hit 31.57, that was a 9.1% drop from $34.72, which is not a synthetic price failure. It's not enough of a drop, which means that was basically a short ladder attack trying to get people to sell shares, and it didn't work. And they stopped at 9.1% and then let the price go back up again. So we'll see what ends up happening. I mean, that doesn't mean that we couldn't go lower because we haven't broken 34.72, which was our last previous high. So it doesn't mean that we can't go back low again and create a new low, but it would have to be beyond 20 or around 20% or greater. The last time we had a low, it was $28.57, and that was a 30% drop from $40.94. And that was over 9 days. It took 9 days for that to happen. And I would suggest, when I say that I know that there's people that are selling, I would suggest that at least 10% of that 30% was probably actual paper hands. That's 10% of the total amount of shares that were sold off during that period of time, not necessarily, or sorry, I shouldn't say 10% of the shares. 10% of the value was paper hands, not necessarily the total amount of volume that was traded. So it's difficult to say how many people that equates to, but I can guarantee you it's really small. In order to get the most amount of people selling their shares, you have to hit percentages like 40 and 60%. So the 20 percenters and the 30 percenters they're not, it's a drop in the bucket. So for him to sit there and claim that there's people who are selling their shares, sure there is, but it's not like in the numbers he's trying to suggest where it's going to impact the stock overall. So we're still trading inside this triangle. Looks like we've hit the top 3 times now. And I would suggest, I mean, I don't know if this triangle is really going to last out as far as I've got it drawn, which is to basically mid-morning tomorrow. But if we do continue to traverse this, it could move up and down within this in the after hours. But at some point, this signal is supposed to break out going upwards. So that's what we're kind of looking for right now. I've got a box over here saying that this is when I would most likely see this happen, but I can't say for certain that's when it will happen. Typically speaking, this is what happens, but we could have in the after hours, it's anybody's guess. Crazy stuff happens in the after hours. We are trading above the VWAP. I'm just looking for seeing if there's any other patterns in here that are discernible besides that kind of macroscopic. I'm looking microscopically if there's any kind of trends in here that would lead me to believe some trend is forming. I don't really. I mean, I guess I kind of see a little bit of an ascending parallel, but it's already gone. I mean, we're already broke out of it. If I were to draw it, it'd be something like this. You can see we've already broken out of it. But that's just inside this massive triangle. We know it's going to hit the top here and start to traverse down. So I think this indicator supports what this triangle is saying. For those of you who are watching, in case you didn't see it at the very top of the screen there, I do have the link for the investor meeting for later today. If you don't want to listen to me talking about it, then don't come back. You can just use that link and just listen to the interview straight up. I will be stopping the show at the normal time today at 3 o'clock and restarting the show just before the meeting starts. I will live stream the meeting, and if I can pause it, I'll probably pause it and talk over some of the things that I'm hearing said. just to kind of give my opinion on what I think's happening. Which, could be a train wreck in some people's opinion. In other people's opinion, it might be like, oh yeah, I agree with that guy. Somebody's saying that there's a double parabolic arc all the way. This is posted by Grillionaire. Reposted from Edwin Barnes C. And this is the post. I'll put it up here real quickly. This is actually pretty decently sized post. To the left is a picture representing a parabolic arc. To the right, our beloved AMC. Notice anything familiar? Looks like AMC preparing for takeoff. So that's what we had been saying about the parabolic arc. He talks about it, but where's the double parabolic? That's kind of an interesting read. I haven't read it all, obviously, but it'd be interesting to see. I wish they would have kind of like highlighted more clearly what the double parabolic arc is, because I guess if I guess this would be the first portion, and then it could have a spike up, and then another arc, possibly. Maybe that's what they're saying. Let's see how that compares to what we have. Okay, I guess I see it. So they're saying this is the parabolic arc here, and then we're forming a secondary parabolic arc below it. I guess I could see it. Although this jump right here is not nearly high enough to, I mean, it'd be like a micro. Let's see what else we got here. So there's been a lot of people talking about there are different ways to calculate the SATEC voter count. I guess this is one that was posted on tweet was from user o Fintellect, and they posted, and I actually had one little problem with one of the things that they had stated on their tweet. It was a good tweet overall, but there was just one little piece of information that they were missing. I guess I'll just read it to you guys from the beginning. Doesn't hurt. As a data analyst, AMC APE, it was my duty to do my part. The true value of current shares, including synthetic shares, falls within this range, 1.5 billion to 5.5 billion with 99% confidence. 1% chance that the true number falls outside the range. See thread below for data and method. And of course, yeah, when I was telling you guys that it could be up to as high as 8 billion, the confidence level obviously reduces. But, if I said that, it could get up to 8 billion with a confidence level of 90%, you'd probably buy that. But you don't need to, because anything over 2 billion is high enough. Let's see. I extrapolated the number of AMC synthetic shares using advanced statistical software based on the recent say holder vote and 3 indicator sample size, variable and population, and confidence level. Assumptions. A, 63,000 retail investors voted, not randomized, so it might be biased, and we should control that for Example, people with more shares had more tendency to vote. 68 million shares voted for Timothy B. 4.1 million retail investors exist. There are three methods of extrapolation: linear, S-curve, and mixed mode extrapolation. I tried all three and got almost the same result. In a perfect world of statistics, assuming all people who logged their shares voted for Timothy B question on dividend, the total value of the number of shares would be 4.42 billions. But we have to control for a few things. Not all the people who voted for Timothy B question on dividend. I personally didn't vote for that because companies with debt cannot offer dividend. But later I logged back in again and voted for that question because it was the right thing to do on my to log my shares. I don't know if that's necessarily true with the whole dividend thing, and I know I've heard it repeated several times before. Um, but I think that there are types of dividends that can be given. Whereas, like, if it was a monetary dividend, that may be the case. But if they'd had another type of dividend that they could give out, there might be a way to have a dividend for the shareholders. But I'll continue on. If 10% didn't vote for that question, the total value of the shares would be 4.92 billion. If 20% didn't vote for the value of shares, would be 5.53 billion. But it doesn't matter because we assume everyone who logged their shares voted for the question to be conservative. So there's a variability in population and it's not randomized, so we have to control for that. Assuming people with more shares had more tendency cast a vote, we dilute the number of participants to control for smaller accounts by 100% and 200% to be sure. If we dilute by 100% to control for small account retails, it means instead of 63,000 retail investors, 126,000 retail logged 68 million shares, and 200% dilution assumes this is a lot of numbers. With 100% dilution, the total shares out there, including synthetics, would be 2.2 billion, and with 200%, the total shares out there, including synthetics, would be 1.5 billion. The most conservative estimate in the range. And I agree. I think 1.5 is just like way too conservative. As I was curious to see a 300% dilution would look like, it turns out even if we assume 25,000 or 252,000 retail investors logged, that many shares, very unlikely by any statistical standard, but out of curiosity, we would still have 1.1 billion shares out there. So this puts an end to the discussion on variability in population, period. Checkmate. I don't know. All right. Yeah, anyways, they posted that on Twitter, and basically they came down to the conclusion that there was somewhere between 1.5 to 5.5 billion, and it's going to be based off of what's going to make the difference on how many there is based on total amount of shareholders versus confidence of the value that we got. But I feel confident, and I've put it up in stone. These are my lowest numbers. Estimated outstanding shares based on SATEC votes. The retail owns 2.185. I think, if you want to start from the beginning of today, I kind of shared at the beginning of today how I got to that number. But when you add in institutions and insiders, you get 2.37 billion, which is the bare minimum. Again, for every 1 million shareholders you add another 500,000 or 500 million shares to this number. The more confidence that we have in the numbers, like the average shares held by each person, the higher this number gets as well. I took my confidence level on a 50% basis, which gave us, I cut the number in half basically, and called that everybody who voted basically is the top portion or the top tier of our bell curve, and so the middle portion of that is basically like this is based off of old data, but I'll just put this up here. This is what I had done last week, and if you took the amount of voters that we had and put at that time it was 1170 on total amount of votes for the average, and I put them in the top tier and basically said like your average or your bell curve is like this. where your average basically comes out to like 600 shares a person. And then so that's how I was getting my numbers. But yeah, I definitely think that there's definitely reason to believe that there's well over 2 billion shares outstanding. So take that, hedgies, and suck it, because we ain't going nowhere. Not with that kind of data. I can't even imagine. Like, why would anybody leave now? Now that we know what we know, it would be for reasons other than just simply wanting to hold. Oh yeah, I forgot I wanted to look at this. I didn't cover this yet with you guys today, and I haven't actually covered it myself. Although I did read something about it. So let me get rid of the tallies real quick. This is Fintel. Fintel is reported. I follow the 13F and port end reports that are sent out, which basically shows like institutional ownership and how it's changing. If we refresh this, we'll see Emerald Investment Partners was the last one. Swiss and then Emerald. Apparently this changed quite a bit. Let's see if it did. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's not as much as everybody was saying, but my goodness, I thought, or is it? Holy, these weren't in here before. Wolverine? Wow. There's some big buys in here. Oh, that's a call and a put. Okay, so they made a call of 2 million and 1.5 put, but they bought 6,820 shares. Okay, anyway, Swiss and Emerald, they're in here. And here's Quadrant, First Horizon, Meter, and Tradition. All buys for 364, about 3,000, 10.7 thousand, and 3.9 thousand. So all buy orders. I do feel like there's some new ones in here that weren't in here before. But they all say 8.6, so maybe I just don't remember seeing them. These are all the 8.9 ones, so there's 4 new ones. Oh yeah, almost forgot. We gotta check and see when they actually occurred. Probably end of June, like most of them. Yep, end of June. We'll check one more. Oh, wait a minute. They filed it. Oh yeah, end of June. Here it is right here. Effective date. And then I refresh Citadel to see what kind of 13G forms what kind of new SPACs they've been investing into. I think it's funny. I saw a whole bunch of information posted this week on SPACs and how much money Citadel's investing into these SPACs, and I've been shouting this for like forever, like saying, like, guys, these SPACs are just being created left and right. Like, we need to be looking at this stuff. Like, there's something going on here. It's so weird. Like, there's just so many of them that they're just investing money into. Now, some of them seem legit. Others, not so much. I'll tell you one thing though. Since I've been tracking this, which is about a month now, I have to say that it feels like to me they're slowing down on how many SPACs. And actually, it's ever since Gary Gensler had mentioned that they were starting to look at SPACs. I've seen a slowdown, a definite slowdown since then. And that's been within like the last week to week and a half. But yeah, SPACs in the Grand Cayman Islands that are blank check companies. I'm not buying it, especially when they were created like real recently and like right after the last squeeze. Conveniently placing their money. I kind of thought about something this weekend, and I don't know if it's possible, but if they were able to take some of these ETFs and put them somehow group them up with other funds that they were hedging against, could they actually make money on losing money? I don't know if that makes any sense or not. But I have been wondering about that. Like if there's a way for them to be able to take the ETFs and just compile them into losing funds that they can invest into to profit from the backside of losing money on AMC. Somebody would have to take the other side of those positions though. So the question would be is like where's that money going to be coming from? Like who would be stupid enough to buy money or take the backside of a hedge bet on funds that had like AMC wrapped up into them? It would have to be somebody like extremely gullible or not knowing what it was they were getting themselves into. But then again, I mean, you go watch that movie. You can watch how they sold um, like just crap AAA. Uh, Actually, they were B. I think they were B funds, and they sold them as great upgraded. They tied a whole bunch of junk into AAA's, and then rated them AAA, and then sold them off like that. And for some reason, people were just picking them up. I gotta watch the whole movie. I still haven't seen the whole movie, and I feel such like a bad ape for not having watched it all. I think Eric's watched it. So it just kind of looks like we're kind of consolidating out the end of the day today. I mean, you look at the volume; it's just so low. This volume down here, we're trading at like less than 100,000 shares a minute, which is pretty low. Remember, 250 is the magic number. 250 shares a minute or more, and we're cooking with bacon grease at that point. Uh, 250,000 shares a minute gives, there's 390 minutes in a trading day, so there's actually more than that in the pre-market, so I'm not really counting all of it, but if you were to just count just the market itself and you did 250,000 shares times 390, it would give you basically close to 100 million shares. The rest of it comes from the pre-market. So basically, 250,000 shares a minute on average will give us what we need to get 100 million shares traded for the day. So today, when I made my volume prediction for the day, I did it at around noon, which was difficult for me to do because I wasn't looking at 7 a.m. numbers, and so I just kind of had to like kind of wing it a little bit based off of like the 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. pokey volume stick of volume, and it came out to roughly like 50 to 70 million is what I would have probably predicted if I'd been watching it at 7 o'clock in the morning. Because I just couldn't look at the noon data and come up with a good number. So, but it looks like to me like we might be on the little bit higher end of that, maybe 60 million. It might be right about in the middle. I always give myself about 20 million spread. I think it's fair. But my gosh, if any of you guys are watching, those of you who are watching right now, what do you think happened on Friday? There's like so many weird things that just like I was just so beside myself trying to figure out. I mean, the only things that stood out to me, I'll throw them up here real quick. The short percentage, this is the amount of volume that's shorted, was super high. 61.4%. The closest day we had to that, like within the last month, was 7/16, where it was 57.1. But for the most part, usually it's in the 30 to 40 percentile range. So the one thing that really stood out to me was how massive this number was. Um, Dark pool percentage was high, but it wasn't in the 70s, so it was high. Short exempt volume, super low, but it wasn't like a. What stands out to me is more when it's like in the millions than being low. So this was like the only thing that like superly jumped out at me. That and the fact that we had where's it? This is my notes. We had 4.36 million shares borrowed on Friday. That's massive. Like normally I would expect to see a 10% day on a day where we had that many shares borrowed, because that's just typically what happens. So to see 4.36 million shares borrowed and only have like a 2% day or something like that was pretty rough. Did not see that coming. I'll be right back. I gotta hit the restroom real quick. Okay, I'm back. Oh, yes, the new hedge fund that joined in with 4 million shorts. Yeah, I didn't see that. Um, I remember hearing about it, but I was gonna go back and look it up, and I forgot completely all about it. Um, do you remember the name of the company that did that? I think it's like O'Day or something like that, wasn't it? If I remember off just the top of my head, which is real crappy. But I didn't see like a. Obviously, you wouldn't see that in Fintel right away because that wouldn't show up until later. Like they wouldn't have to report it right away. So we'll probably see that in like a month or two. Um, but yeah, I did want to kind of like investigate into the company and figure out who they were since they were getting coverage on it. At least it was being talked about. Let's talk about something kind of exciting for me. We are ever closer to getting 100 subscribers to this channel, and I'll tell you what it means for me. For me, I have to pull up my information here real quick. Um, for me, what it means is that there's a couple things that I can start changing. Well, at least one big thing that I can change that um, really just kind of, I guess, sets my channel apart from others. And what that is I can change the URL. Once I have 100, I believe once I have 100 subscribers, I get to change that. And so that's really cool because I don't advertise at all. I mean, I do like in weird kind of ways, just I mention it if somebody asks me, then I tell them. But I don't reach out and try to advertise at all. You're not going to see me do that. That's not what I want this to be about. I want this to be about something different. I'm just telling you guys this information because I'm telling you that there's going to be some changes. So first off, the URL is going to change, which I think I'm kind of trying to decide between a few things. And since I do have what I would consider to be like my group of people here now listening and watching, I want you guys to be a part of this process and helping me decide where I'm going to go with this. Um, but I'm going to change the URL, and what I've kind of been thinking about doing was changing it to something that is specific to me. In other words, like I know like my channel title has always been AMC and ADD. Although I don't know that I necessarily want to just be known as like the ADD guy, even though that's who I am. I kind of want to like, I guess I want to change it up a little bit. So let me show you. I gotta go do a little digging here. Um, I'll show you guys what I was thinking about. This is just kind of like a rough thing. It's not like set in stone, or I'm not married to it in any kind of way. Let's see, copy. I gotta email it to myself. So, all right. So this is another thing that I can do. Well, I think I can already do this, and I just haven't done it. Is the KC that is a the green bubble from the picture of my um, channel, I guess, can be changed to something different. I think I can already do that. That's not something. That's something I could have changed a long time ago, and I just never really felt like I needed to. But I feel like once you get up to that certain point of hitting 100, like there's like it's a point at where you start making some changes. And so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make some changes, and this is kind of what I'm thinking of. Um, how do I pull this over? Here we go. It is not showing up the way I wanted it to. Why isn't it showing up? Let's get rid of that. All right, I'm just gonna put you guys over to the other screen, and so you can see it. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of like, this is just like something I just did on my phone really fast to just kind of like show Eric. But basically, what I would do is I would move the A and the M over to the left a little bit, the C over to the right, and fit in like a really poorly drawn K in there. So it'd be like AMKC. Um, that was kind of like the thought of like what I would change the bubble up to. Um, that was just kind of like my idea. And then if I did that, I would call the channel like AMKC. And but then I kind of thought like, well, how does that relate to what I'm doing? What I'm trying to do is I'm here for you guys throughout the entire day, every day that we're trading, and I want to be that person where you can go like when something is breaking is happening, you can be like, oh, I'll just go to the live channel and I'll look up and see what everybody's saying or talking about and see what's happening there. And so I thought about putting like a AM slash maybe like a slash below it saying PM KC, AM PM KC. I don't know. It's just some stuff that I've been kind of toying around with as an idea. Looking at myself multiple times. Um. Anyways, I don't know. I'm really not into like advertising or anything like that, or like trying to make anything like special, as you can probably tell based on how this channel works. But I do feel like if I've got more subscribers, it's and they're wanting to be here, then I should make it worth watching. So, I guess I'll rebrand just slightly to try and like appease. I do know like another couple suggestions were things that I need to change is start bookmarking throughout my daily feeds. That if somebody wants to talk or hear about a specific subject matter, um, in the description I can place like the bookmark topics and timestamps for those bookmarks, and so it's really simple for somebody to just go to that timestamp if they want to hear a specific subject matter, because I am doing 9-hour streams and it's really difficult for people to sit there and I don't even like watching longer than like 3 or 4 minute videos myself, so I can understand why people wouldn't want to do that. But this was always about, for me, it was always about having a place where people could come. I wanted to provide something that nobody else was providing. And every time I went to go look on YouTube for something AMC related, it was always videos that were old, stuff that had already happened and it wasn't live. And I wanted live feedback. I wanted Ortex data live. I wanted Fintel data live. I wanted everything live. And so that's what I'm trying to provide for people is live reporting throughout the day of events that occur. And with some, you know, technical analysis to go with it. Um, so we just tested 40 or 3412 again. Is this the third, fourth time? Fourth time. Based on what Trey always says, fourth time is usually a charm. So I mean, maybe we'll see a breakout here before the end of the day beyond that 3412. It's possible. Nice little George W there. So I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. I mean, you got my username on the screen for Reddit. You know, if you want to send me a message through Reddit, send me a message that way. If you want to send it to me through Twitter, send it to me through Twitter. Just whatever you think, because I want to know. I want to know what you guys think. You're part of this, and I don't want to change things in a way that's gonna not make you happy. Um, I think there might be some issues with trademarking if I were to. I'm not even making any money, so I don't know how it would be an issue to have to be making money. But I would have, I don't see why I couldn't use the AMC insignia um, unless I was trying to make money off of it. So it shouldn't be an issue. Another thing too is I really love my intro and outro music for the day each day. Um, if I ever do decide to monetize, which I really don't, I mean, that's not like my goal, but if it does happen in the future, I don't want to get rid of that. So I might, I don't know. I'll be torn. I'll be extremely torn because I don't want to get rid of that. I want to be able to have music. I think it's what makes, I think makes the entire environment fun when we can like listen to like a really cool song when this thing's ripping. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine like our best moment, like the biggest rip of all rips starts happening, and I can't just break out like some awesome song and like just start dancing in the room to it, like as you all think I'm, watching me be crazy or some shit like that. And it's just like it would upset me if I just couldn't have some kind of awesome music in the background. So I don't know how I'm gonna get past those kinds of things. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm really liking how we're looking today. We're up almost 4%. GameStop is up 7% right now. Um, they're looking really nice. Like that's a janky W, a janky W with a hook in it. Wait a minute, huh? Doge is up 10%. I mean, go Doge. Cinemark is down 3.2%. Our competitors right almost in the beginning of the market day today, it just tanked. And the first thought in my head that went through, or at least it went through my head when I saw that was, oh my gosh, um, are the apes gonna have to fight like a dual fight? Like, I don't want to see Cinemark go. I just never thought that they would get shorted. Like, what if they changed their attacks to shorting Cinemark instead of shorting AMC? I would feel crummy. Um, I don't think any of our goals is to try and put Cinemark out of business. I don't know. It's just a thought that went through my head. Robinhood is up 3%, but they are currently down a little bit from where they were at earlier in the day. Amazon is up, or sorry, down 0.06%. Just a bunch of sideways. It looks like the market kind of tanked on everybody the beginning half of the morning, except for us. we were like a launch. Yeah, and GME. How about Doge? What was their first day like? Or their first? Yep, they tanked too right in the beginning of the morning. So I went to the barber this weekend. I got my hair cut, and I told the lady that was cutting my hair, I said I've never grown a beard, for like long periods of time. So she gave me like beard shampoo and beard oil and stuff. So, or actually, my wife got the beard oil, but she gave me beard shampoo, and so yeah, I guess I'm a beard guy now, and that's what I'm gonna have to own. Um, I'm gonna have to own this whole beard thing going into going into this squeeze because I guess I jumped on somehow. I managed to jump onto the whole no shave till Moas. So and then I thought it'd be really kind of fun too. Like let's say we didn't Moas for like a while or something. Uh, if I could keep the beard until December, I could play Santa Claus if we had lots of money by then, and just go to like the children's hospital and like be the guy who actually gets to hand out the packages too. I thought that would be always kind of fun. Um, Not that I look like, well, I guess I kind of do look like Santa Claus. I got the weight for it. I'm just not quite old enough. I'm like a young Santa Claus. I noticed that I did today a little differently. I set today up as a scheduled event, and it showed up kind of weird for me. So I'm not exactly sure like how it's looking for you guys, but the stream, it just looks different. I don't know how to explain it. But anyways, we're ending right now. We got about an hour and 15 minutes left. Let's look at some of our indices and see where we're at here. Trying to get back on topic. Let's see. We'll refresh this. Get rid of our tally marks. They're gone. Good. We are currently at 16.13% short share interest. Borrow changed is not changed. No, it changed just ever so slightly. It's down like 3,000. Um, I guess we'll look at options. I'm really confused by the options not showing me. I gotta pull up something real quick because I want to compare this to Yahoo. I'll put the options over here for you guys to see, but I need to compare it to Yahoo real quick. The reason I'm comparing it is that I want to see um, if they have indeed the $120. No, they don't. They lowered it. Wow. Okay, so I thought this was just a fidelity reporting issue, but apparently the highest option value you can choose now is 80, but it used to be 120. I wonder why. I wonder what constituted a drop in that in the maximum amount being $80. That's interesting. Huh. Okay, well, I haven't experienced that before. Let's see. We'll pull up our OI is not going to have changed for that, but we do have it looks like an additional 6,000 options that are being purchased for that $80 call price. Apparently, I honestly think that this next jump up that we have is going to be in the 90 range. So I'm a little surprised that 80 is the most you can go. It would make sense to me that they would not make higher values if they did suspect that it was going. If the purpose in driving the price down to where it's at right now is to reduce the amount of call options that can be on the positive side. They're doing a good job because I know there are plenty of people out there who are buying those options up for $1 an option at 120 bucks. All right, so we're currently at a strike price right now of 40 with 19.8 thousand options. And on the put side, the strength is around 30 at 10.6. So nothing, they're still straddling 40 and 30. And the price is like almost getting close to that middle area, middle ground. 33.83, so up another buck, and we're like right in the middle. Do note, guys, that about a week and a half ago or so, this was at 12 million shares left to borrow. So it's dropped by half in about a week, maybe just slightly over a week's period of time. And since last Friday, it dropped a little over to 2.2 million. So yeah, Uh, the amount of shares left to borrow is going to get harder and harder, and as it does, the utilization is going to get higher and higher. So be watching for that. That's a good sign. Those are definitely good signs. Depends on the price when the options first got offered. Not sure how long before it is though. But I mean, like I know that there were already options for $120 for this week out there. So what happens to those options? Did they just like do they get canceled out because of the fact that they're no longer showing up in the reporting? Because I don't get that. I know there were people who had $120 option strike prices last week for this week. I'm pretty sure. And again, today, guys, I will be ending the show at the normal time at 3 o'clock and restarting the show for the second quarter earnings meeting with a live feed through that, and then doing commentary over the top of it as well. So I might be pausing to do a little commentary as they're talking. So this is weird. I'm kind of curious what this means. This is written on Reddit by XXWire DXX Wired. Okay, XX Wired XX. They posted. I tested two market limit orders, $1 above ask, direct to Nasdaq at the yellow arrow on the 1 second. Am I imagining things? Anyone else test this? I'm a little confused as to what they're trying to say they did, but I'm not sure if I can understand what that means. How many how many people did you think were gonna show up to vote for the SATEC? I was a little surprised. I kind of thought I think I was thinking about 200,000. I think that's kind of what I was looking forward to is about 200,000 people voting, which I thought would be like a fair number. Especially with AMC stock on Reddit being 406,000 uh, users or subscribers to it, that we would see something higher, but it just really didn't happen. Somebody on Twitter's reporting an early earnings prediction. This is by, who is this by? Prime Ape Holder. AMC earnings prediction. Adam removes his shorts, slaps his guy on the table, and announces growth was larger than expected. Growth was larger than expected. Oh man. Slaps his guy on the table. Oh boy. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. Let's hope not. Hmm. So later this month, I will be taking my son from my house to his grandmother's house in California. We're actually going to drive. We're going to do a road trip. He's changing. He's getting done with his military training, and he's got to go out to the new base that he's going to be stationed at. And he asked me if I wanted to do a road trip with him to the new base or to his grandma's house, and then his grandma's going to take him to the new base for the rest of the way. And I said, absolutely. So we are actually going to start on the 24th of this month. So I will not be on. Well, what I'm thinking about doing is doing like kind of some streaming on the road kind of stuff from the 24th until about the 1st. So we're actually it's gonna be a long trip. So there's gonna be about a week in there where I will be doing like on the road streams, which will be interesting. I don't e- I don't even know how that's gonna work out. We might have to do a couple tests beforehand to see how it's gonna work. But it'll be interesting to see. And I don't know, maybe we'll just do like live updates of the stock market from a new location every day and make it like a cool location or something. Maybe we'll meet some apes along the way. That'll be really cool. Actually, I would love more than anything to um, meet people along the way, fellow apes that we can just talk to. And but I do want it to be me and him time. So we're testing for the fifth time. Fifth? One, two, three, four. Fifth time. $34.12 and struggling to get past it for a fifth time. They just don't want us to get past that, do they? Seems to be the level of resistance that's just kind of the tough one. Let's see, we do have a 3,900 buy wall at $34. So hopefully if we go to retest this 34.12, we'll actually break through this time as that 3,900 shares at $34 will keep us in that range. And it's stacking now. It's at 4,000 shares. there is sell walls at $36, so there is room for this to uh, shoot up past this level of resistance once it gets past it. We do have a couple walls at 34.45, 35.48 before we got to that $36 range. Yep, didn't quite make it. Back down to 34. The resistance is real. I do feel like there's less. I feel like maybe the reason why we're seeing less volume is because I do feel like there's less pressure to knock the price down than there used to be, which could, it could equate to some of the reason why the volume's lower. I don't see any new shares being borrowed. It's still 953,000 according to Ortex. Short share interest is at 16.13, so nothing really changing there. Just not. I mean, it's kind of dead right now. Inflow versus outflow is currently at 346 to 351. So there's a higher outflow than there is inflow, and yet we're up 4%. If that's not a win, I don't know what is. It's so unusual. I mean, today really has a lot of the same kind of feels as the things that we were experiencing last Friday. It's just a lot of the same weird things just happening. For lack of better terms, I can't really come up with a term for it. Shenanigans. Man, I tell you what, guys, I can't wait for that quarterly meeting. I'm kind of pumped. I'm really excited to hear what's going to be said. I'm kind, I'm debating how I want to have this set up because I know after hour trading will still be happening when it starts. In fact, it'll be happening for probably for the entire meeting, if I had to guess. So I'm trying to decide how I want to do the webcast. I don't think. I don't think that. I don't know. It could be a video. If it's a video, I'll probably put it up on the screen. If it's not a video, hmm. Well, obviously, if it's not a video, we'll just be watching the ticker. Yeah, but it's gonna be a fun trip, man. It's gonna be challenging actually to probably come up with like some videos on the fly while we're driving around the U.S. We are taking some scenic routes, so there will be some scenic locations. Very scenic. I'll be one of those people that like does this like cast like right in the middle of like a bunch of people or around people, and they'll just be all like looking at me weird. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Oh boy. Fidelity just sent a message saying that AMC options implying a 19% move in share price post earnings. Let me check my messages. Dang man, you got something cool because I didn't get it. I didn't get it yet. I wonder if it's in my promotions. I don't see it. Sent a message saying the AMC options implying a 19% move in share price post earnings. That's great. Let me check something here. I do know. I think. Oh, I missed this today, guys. My bad. I saw it and then I was going to talk about it and then I forgot to go back to it. So I will post this up real quick here. Alpha trading signals for Ortex. There was a signal sent today, 9th of July. Don't look at these ones here. These are old. Come on. Right here, 9th of July. A buy signal. Recommend holding days, 6 days. So it's a type 2 buy, which is based off of the earnings. I think it's projected earnings. So yeah, there's that. Calls leading puts 7-4. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. 21. You're talking about totals. Let's look at the totals. Where do you get 7-4? Out of curiosity, 7-4 ratio. Because I'm I'm not. I wouldn't say that's 7-4. 9, 10, 11, 6, 7, 8. 7-4 ratio. Maybe. I guess that's close. It's close. There's more calls in the money than there's puts. That's a good thing. I mean, this is going to spiral out of control, guys. We know now that there's like just such a huge amount of outstanding shares. What's going to stop? What's going to stop people from flocking to this now? I mean, because you could throw any piece of information or FUD out there that you wanted at this point, and all I have to do is say 2 billion shares minimum, 2.37 minimum, and you just there's no way you can recover from that. There's nothing you can say that's gonna make that look like a bad thing. I mean, it's ridiculous. All right, let's see what we got here. 21, 21. Let's call it 21.1. 21.1 at $40 and 10.9. Yeah, so the call options are definitely piling on, just stacking on right now. I don't know, man. I would after today's earnings report, I would just hate to be the hedge funds. It's just going to be miserable for them. All right, we finally broke through that 3412, guys. So this bullish indicator, this triangle, it held. It didn't happen as late as I thought it was probably going to happen, but that's okay. We'll just get rid of this box. We're going to delete it now. I believe I had a 5-minute box out here. We're going to delete that. So we're testing 3445. Looks like we're kind of blowing past that, or at least trying to. RSI on a 30-minute interval is currently at 65.88, so it still has a little bit of room to move up. On a 5-minute interval is at 65, so they both have room to still have more buying pressure before we saw like a correction. I could see maybe a stall out at 34.50. We're stalling out already, so I don't. It's hard to say. Let's see. We got 50 minutes left in the trading day. I mean, I'm really gonna enjoy the rocket launch at the end of the day. It's always nice when you see a bunch of green going into a rocket launch, but I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody's kind of bullish on what's going on right now. There's just so many factors into what's going to happen and what we're seeing for data. Uh, it doesn't take a dummy to understand that the hedge funds got caught with their pants down. Sorry, I said it doesn't take a dummy. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. It doesn't take a dummy, meaning even somebody who's lower than a dummy can get it. I mean, this is just, it's insane. There's just so many things that are just boiling up to this just exploding. I wanted to go more bullish today, but I knew like the only person that had told me a price first was Eric. I think Eric gave his price first, and or he did give it first, and I knew as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I want to go so much more bullish than this, and you know, every day that the guys do put out their numbers first, I do take that into account before I put in my choice. Um, I guess I didn't believe in myself, and I should have. I should have believed in myself because I was bullish going in today, but I didn't know how much to expect. Volume was so super low that it was hard to come up with a big number, so I kind of went just slightly higher than everybody else. Because if you look at the numbers today, man, we're like stacked on top of each other. Duncan's, let's see, John's got the no, Eric's got the lowest at 28.31. Then John at 29 to 32. Then Duncan 29 to 5 to 32.5. And so I actually came in after Eric with my guess at 30 to 33, and we were just so far off, pleasantly so far off. Good price movement. Good price movement. What's going to happen in the after hours when they announce what you were talking about that Fidelity posted? What's going to happen? I wonder if they post their earnings report prior to the meeting. I would imagine that they have to file something with SEC before they actually do the meeting, which is kind of surprising that we're not like seeing it right now. You know, I want to get that changed. Nobody should be getting these reports earlier than anybody else. Like the SEC should get it first, and then everybody disseminates from there down. Yeah. So right now I'm still not seeing anything for. Wait a minute. Is this the quarterly? No, that was first quarter. Okay, I'm looking at first quarter data. This is pretty nice looking. I still can't believe the outflow versus inflow. It's got to be higher now. I just asked. There's just no way it's not. Yeah, but let's 4 million more inflow than outflow, and we're up like 6% on the day. Oh, that just makes me laugh. It makes me laugh so hard. Hey, puppy dog. My dog's over here visiting me. What's going on, buddy? Let's see, Fidelity. I gotta see if they're posting stuff on the website. I see a little. I see an earnings report thing next to AMC on their thing, but I'm not seeing like an actual way to look it up. AMC has moved up into second place on Fidelity's popularity or best trending stocks with a 62 to 38% buy over sell. Yeah, this could we could easily reach like 36. I think we could hit $36 before market close. Volume is picking up to like averaging 400,000 shares a minute. It was 800,000 the last minute, but there's a couple minutes before that that were kind of lower, so maybe around 400,000. Although the VMA says 500,000, 538. Yeah, this is the good stuff, guys. This is it. Oh, I have Fidelity Pro. I've got it too. I just don't have it open right now because I'm not making any trades. Um, so you got the message on your computer since you used the Pro version, and that's where you got it from. I wonder if I open mine if it'll show it to me. You guys, give me a second. Isn't this one it? Yeah. I might have to take off my display for just a second. Sorry, I gotta take it off there for just a second because I don't recall what shows up, and I don't want to I don't want to give away stuff. I don't know what I'm allowed to show and what I'm not allowed to show. Oh man, it just you kidding me? Oh man, it's not working for me. I'm gonna have to find if there's updates. I probably had an update that I missed. Well, darn. Well, I'll look into this later because I really don't want to like keep you guys hanging on the. It's not like superly vital for me that I see it like right this second. But yeah, that was a nice little run up to 35.38. So if I track that, I have to delete my I have to delete my previous downswing of 31.57 and continue on with the upswing that we had last. So 35.38 being the new high, which gives us a 23.8% increase since our last drop that we had, which means we are on a increase since 8.5, which is a nice 4-day run increase, which is nice. Our last decrease was a drop of 30.2%, and now we're on a 23.8% increase, which is a nice recovery. It leaves us like 7% off of where we had left off at nine previous. Well, I guess it would be on the 27th of July, which was $40.94. But the higher we get, though, right? This is the problem we're going to see. What we're going to see is we're going to see. Okay, I'll check out the AMC news. Um, the news section. Hold on a second. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it. I would assume it's news, just news and research spot. Um, I'll just type in AMC in the search. Go. Earnings reaction history. Um, this is so weird. It's reporting after hour information. Expected earnings release 8/9 after hours. Average extended hour dollar volume 12,856,240. AMC Entertainment Holding Incorporated is due to issue its quarterly earnings report in the upcoming extended hour session. Given its history, traders can expect a very active trading in the issue immediately following its quarterly earnings announcement. Historical earnings event related pre-market and after-hours trading activity at AMC indicates that the price change in the extended hours is likely to be of limited value in forecasting additional price movement by the following regular session close. Last 12 quarters positive only price reactions. Percent of time added to extended hours gains 37.5%. Average next regular session additional gain 6.1%. Over the prior 3 fiscal years, 12 quarters, when shares of AMC rose in the extended hour session in reaction to its earnings announcement, history shows that 37.5% of the time The stock posted additional gains in the following regular session by an average of 6.1%. So they're saying like we could see a price increase of 6.1% based on kind of a low average. Um, yeah, they're just giving kind of like what it could possibly do historically based off of historical figures from the quarterly earnings. But there's another one here. This is from also today. It looks like Moffett Nathanson adjusted AMC's network's price target to 57 from 55, maintains neutral rating. That was today. I mean, but that's not bad considering the fact that we're trading at $34 right now and they downgraded from 57 to 55 and maintains a neutral rating. Thank you. We're pretty sure that we should be trading a lot higher than that, but we'll take what we can, even if it is a downgrade of $2. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything newer than the one I just read, the last one that's there for me. Oh wait, hold on a second. Apparently it's not sorted by date. I just resorted by date. There it is. I see it. Okay. I don't know why it wasn't sorted by date. Wait, that's the same thing. 8989. Oh, I think you're talking about the option straddle article. Straddle prices into quarter results this week. 3D Systems, let's see, AMC Entertainment August weekly 34 straddle priced for a move of plus or minus 21% into the expected release of quarterly results today after the bell. A straddle entails buying a call and put of the same strike that allows for the holder to profit based on how much the price of the underlying securities moves, regardless of the direction of the price movement. Hmm. Yeah, I know. I did say AMC Networks, but it was that's what it was saying on the um, on the article. When I clicked on it, it's saying AMC Networks. I don't know why it says Networks because I'm pretty sure that's a different. It did say AMC, so it didn't say the AMC X, which I think is the Networks or whatever that other one is. Yeah, that was a nice little run up though to 35.38. Let's I'm more excited about what's going to happen in the after hours though. And we'll watch it. Yeah, that's what I thought AMCX should be. That's networks would be AMCX, but for some reason whatever article I was reading was stated as AMC. I don't know. I don't know why. Inflows at 426 over 422. We'll see if this level of support holds up at 34.45. And then don't forget, guys, I will cover the quarterly meeting live. I will end the show and restart it up probably 10 minutes prior to the actual start time of the meeting. So be looking for the new show start time of 3:50, and I'll probably create a calendar event so that you can see that it's going to be starting. Yeah, I would expect after hours to be fun too. Um, Currently, it doesn't show them lending more shares. Actually, nothing's really changing in Ortex whatsoever. It doesn't appear to be changing on Stonko Tracker. Boy, guys, wouldn't it be just crazy if this was it? If this was the final battleground? I mean, like I said, there's nothing else to prove. You know, and once we've definitively shown that we know that there's 2 billion outstanding shares, there's nothing left to prove to anybody. There's no amount of FUD that you can possibly uh, throw out any longer that would change anybody's mind that this is going to squeeze. And of course, Adam Aaron's not going to talk about that, but I don't think he needs to. I just wish we had had like 200,000 people who had voted. I think that would have been like more like in your face kind of thing. But we'll settle for the 60 some odd thousand. Although, did that number continue to go up? I didn't check it again later because I did notice that it was still giving more hours for people to vote on, and I wasn't checking to see. I did write down the numbers so I could see if it changed any. I had 67. Yeah, 67.7 million shares. 6350. Okay, the numbers have not changed. 1065. Um, and the other thing too is I don't really think Adam Aaron's going to touch. Do you have any plans to offer a dividend again? And of course, he's going to. We already know the answer to that. He's talked about it before. They can't give a dividend while they owe money to certain people. However, some people have suggested that there are types of dividends that can be given, even while there's outstanding money that's owed. So whether or not that means that they don't want to look into it or they don't have the resources to look into it or whatever, I'm not sure, but we'll see. Um, I think the question probably would have been better if it had been kind of altered just ever so slightly, but it's fine. We know what the answer is going to be, though. Hopefully, he'll expand on it. And if he doesn't answer the number one question, how weird will that be? Right? Like, how is it that he wouldn't touch on he's got to touch on the question at least. I wonder if they'll base it off the top questions. So, like, the second question is, will AMC consider partnering with GameStop to offer more theater experiences via local and national gaming competitions? Third one is, would AMC ever consider reestablishing drive-in theaters with current state of the world that would bring a lot of revenue with little worry for people trying to social distance? I don't. I think property is like super hard to come by these days, and so if they were to do something like that, they would have to buy property that's like in the middle of nowhere, and people would have to drive like, I don't know, longer than they probably feel like they would want to get to some of those type of movie theaters. But then again, if you build it, they'll come. I don't know. Maybe people will go to that kind of stuff, like a throwback to the old days. I don't know. How is AMC preparing for the possible large-scale COVID surge? Can that or could potentially shut down theaters again? And I'm pretty sure he's going to reassure people that they've already got money set aside for that, and that was part of the reason why they sold shares. If they have another shutdown, or if there is shutdowns again, they'll be prepared for that. How does AMC plan to combat day and date release of movies on streaming platforms and theaters? I would be interested. I wonder if he's going to touch on the Black Widow. I can't think of her name. Why can't I think of her name? Scarlett Johansson. I wonder if he's gonna touch on the Scarlett Johansson lawsuit to Disney. Because he has a close relationship to Disney, he probably won't want to touch on that subject matter because it could stress relationships with the company, and I don't know if he wants to do that necessarily with Disney. It would be interesting to hear him talk about it, though. I would definitely like to hear him talk about um, the lawsuits. Of course, he can't do that. Would you consider selling AMC merchandise at theaters and online platforms? I think it would be profitable. Man, that really made it that high on the list. That's kind of odd. Could live theater and concert events be streamed to theaters based on streaming success of Hamilton? I expect this would be a real seat filling success. My son, one of my sons loves Hamilton. I don't know if it's the theater portion, like the acting portion of it that he likes, or if he would be willing to watch something like that in a theater. But he might be up for that. Can AMC partner up with GameStop for gaming competition? They already asked that one. I promise not a sarcastic question, but can you guys make the AMC mascot officially a gorilla, please? This is an interesting one. I think I think there might be some merit to this. Has AMC considered partnering with a movie studio in order to produce their own firms? I think that like Netflix doing their own movies has been really profitable for them because they have something that gives them an ability to offer something that you can't see anywhere else. It sets them apart. If you had a movie theater that did something similar where they were actually the production for, I don't know, some kind of series, would people go to watch? And if the only place you could get it was at the movie theater and it was successful, maybe they ought to get into that business. Get in the business of producing movies. I know that there's that Ape movie that those two brothers are coming out with about the whole situation with GME and AMC and the squeeze and everything, and that's going to be a pretty hot topic. I don't know where it's going to be released at, but I'm pretty sure they're hoping it's going to be released through AMC. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see it get like a uh, a dedicated showing for just AMC alone. Like you can't see it anywhere else than there. Okay, we are moving into the last 22 minutes of trading. Well, we'll just call it 20 minutes of trading here. Probably retest that 35.48 level of resistance before heading out for the day here. But yeah, don't forget, guys. I will come back on with a live stream of the quarterly second quarter earnings meeting. I will probably title it exactly that, second quarter AMC second quarter earnings meeting, and then put like the date on the end or something like that. I will set up a scheduled event so that you can just click on it, and as soon as I start the stream, it should go live. And then I'll try to get. I want to talk. I want to talk about what's being said. So if I can pause it without losing anything, I will. And I'll probably be some times, and I'll try to keep it short and real, just kind of direct. But if there's things that I want to touch on, I'm going to say something. I'm going to stop it and say something because I think that it's important to talk about what's being said. I don't expect everybody to have the same opinion as me. In fact, I think that's what's great about all of us being a part of something together is that differing opinions is not a problem. It's an opportunity for people to learn. So I may be wrong, and then may have an opportunity to learn from you guys. So comment the crap out of the comment section and tell me that I'm freaking wrong or something. I'm okay with that. I like having debates and talking about differing opinions. I can't grow if I don't see other viewpoints. I'll tell you what right now. I'll bet you the hedge funds are just like they can't wait for today to get over. They're like, can we just end this day already? I'm almost guaranteed that they're just like, let's get this over with. It's taking your medicine must suck, because that's what I would equate this to. A little bit of hedgy medicine, enema style. I'm curious to see. I don't know how often or how current Nasdaq's institutional investor holdings updates, but it does seem to be daily that new values show up in here, and I can't wait to see what tomorrow's is going to be. And it's 150, we'll just call it 116 million total institutional shares out there. Thanks for showing me this page, Duncan. I love this page. It's a great page. Um, I use it often. Man, I would love this squeeze to like happen and be done and over with before just before I took my son to drive on our trip because I'll tell you what I would do. What I would do is I would turn it into a trip of going around and interviewing apes on our trip along the way, and we would have so much fun like just meeting up. We would like have planned meetups with apes, and I would post it on Reddit and be like, "Hey, two apes heading to such and such a place," and then we'd just meet up with some apes and like just have so much fun, especially since we're going to be traveling across the U.S. Yeah, right. 100 million between BlackRock and Vanguard alone. It's ridiculous. Are they they're the I know they're the two biggest, but what's next? It looks like Invesco. Oh, I see what you're talking about in value. Because in Vanguard and BlackRock, between the two of them, they only have 64 million. At least according to that page that I'm looking at, it shows right here shares held. I think you're talking about maybe value. Uh, 37 million, 27 million. Yeah, man. Duncan, we would travel. I'm in Central Texas, and we would be heading to the West Coast, which is almost the trip that you said that you wanted to kind of make. I know you said you wanted to travel from east to west. It'd be half the distance, but we're gonna make this road trip, and we're gonna do it over like a week's period of time, and it would just be so much fun to like document like different places that we're going and like meetups with like just fellow apes as we go. Oh, I would just die if this thing happened to squeeze before then. It'd be so awesome. Oh yeah, 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 the ETFs. That's right. Yep, forgot about those. Is that where, is that the difference between the float and the outstanding shares? 23.46. So you're saying that there's like 40 additional million shares in the ETFs that they own. Where do you track that at? Because I don't have that information. Like I don't know where I would find that. I mean, it should be in like something that I have access to. Would that be considered inside? No, that's not an insider on the ETFs. Like how would you track that? I don't even know how you would track those. Because because I'm only accounting for like in this number that I posted up here on the estimated outstanding shares. I'm doing it based off of institutional ownership that I just showed you on that one page, the insiders, which I get the data from Ortex, and then the calculation that I used based off the SATEC, and that's how I came up with a 2.37 billion outstanding shares. But that was from the earlier this morning. I discussed all that. If you guys want to see that, go back to the beginning of today. That's kind of how I went over a lot of the technicals, and then I went straight into talking about like how I got to the SATEC values that I came up with. So that's going to be at the beginning of the show. I don't know. I'll probably cover it again tomorrow, but you know I don't want to go over it again right now. We're so close to the end here. We literally have 12 minutes left before the end of the day, and then I will see you guys in like 50 minutes after that with the quarterly meeting live streamed. We'll just kind of get on and listen to the man talk, the silverback talk. Maybe what I'll do, I don't know. Some of it I'll probably talk out loud, but then other times maybe I'll just write in the chat box and say like what's thoughts are like crossing my mind as he's talking. So it'll be like funny, like if somebody goes back to watch the show, they'll be like, "Wait, why is he saying that?" Because they won't see the live chat. I don't think that shows up. I guess I'll have to read it when I write it. I don't know. I got a nervous pin closing habit going on right now. Ugh, I gotta put the pin down. Nervous because I can't wait for this interview or this meeting. I mean, I just want to see it so bad. I should tell you guys, I'm in the works of another interview. Um, I don't know. I guess it would be like counting your eggs before they hatch, to say who it is. But what I will say is that they did a really good breakdown of a number on how they got to how many outstanding shares there are, and their number's higher than mine. It's much higher than that 2 point whatever I put out there. But that number that I have is like the bare minimum that you could possibly have outstanding shares. The number that they come up with, I think, is much better and probably has some more merit to it than what I've come up with. But anyways, I do have another interview scheduled. Well, it's not set in stone yet, but we're talking about finding the right day to meet and talk, and so we'll have like a live conversation probably within this week or so. I think he may have sent me some messages today, but I haven't had a chance to view them. Um, so that's going to be exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. It's another interview with somebody that I hold in high regards when it comes to numbers. I'm seeing, I looked at some of the information that they're posting up and whatnot, and I agree with the work. I do have questions about some of the work because I'm not sure where they get some of their numbers from, much like how I just asked that question a little bit ago about ETFs and where you find that data. Let's see. I'm clicking on your link now. Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with this page, but it's that's still okay. I see. Mutual funds. All right, I see what you're saying. But correct me if I'm wrong, please. But I believe on those ETFs, that would be considered retail ownership because the way that those ETFs work is that somebody has to buy the other end. Like the way that they get the money to buy into the ETF is that would be retail ownership of the funds that happen to be buying into AMC. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think it kind of goes into. I think that would eat into. You can't really count ETFs because it would eat into or it would eat into retail ownership. I mean, it's not like direct ownership. It's no, I guess you would have. It's not. I'm not sure how those are labeled. I'm not sure if those are labeled as part of the float or not. I mean, it would have to be part of the float. It has to be part of the float. I think that would be the. Oh, we're getting a little bit of a drop here. I think that's part of the float. So I think you have to kind of count that as part of retail ownership because it's not considered institutional ownership, it's considered retail ownership. So I think I'm not certain, but I think you'd have to count that as retail ownership because that's where that's the whole purpose of buying those funds is for retail to buy it, to buy those funds, and then um, or I guess it doesn't have to be retail; it could be anybody, but I'm pretty sure that that would be considered outside institutional ownership and would be considered retail ownership. And so therefore, like when you're counting retail shares and you're trying to define between like different groups, retail ownership versus institutional ownership versus insider ownership all have to be kind of like separated into their own groups. And so I think like those ETFs would probably be factored into that ownership that gets voted on, right? Because uh, think about it when you have like let's say you had like a 401k. If you were to have ownership in a fund that had ownership of, actually, I don't think you do get voting rights on those. You only get voting rights on the fund. You don't get voting rights on the actual funds inside of it. So, yeah, I don't know. That's really strange. That's a good question. Oh, yeah, they absolutely lend them out. Of course they do. Yeah. All right, we're getting ultra close. So I will see you guys in like an hour, basically like an hour from now. I'm not going to quit the show right now, but at 3:50 my time, which is basically like an hour from now, I'm going to start the next stream, and it will be the live stream of the second quarter earnings meeting, and it'll be live casted, and there will be my commentary over it, and I might pause it during times when I comment. I'll try to keep it to a bare minimum, so we're not eating too far into the total time that the meeting goes for, which might be long for people to watch. But I guess I guess I'll do I'll try to do most of my commenting in the live section, and we can just have like a group chat about what's happening. But things that I feel like are pertinent issues that we need to talk about, I'll probably comment on. Looks like we're going to close the day like really darn close to the VWAP average. Volume weighted average. Gosh, I was so close. $33 is what I had projected. I should have gone with my gut. I always say that, and I never do. I don't know why. It's like poker. When I play poker, there's sometimes where I just don't listen to my gut when I feel somebody's bluffing. It's really hard sometimes to know when to trust your gut and when not to. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up my talking portion of this. I'll let this go ahead and play out until the end of the market hours, and we'll do our little rocket launch together, and then I'll end the show and then start the show back up at about 3:50 for the quarterly earnings report meeting, and we'll have a fun time listening to Adam Aaron just absolutely school the hedge funds with data that's just going to absolutely tear up the market tonight, I'm pretty sure. So I'll see you guys in a little bit.
T-minus 90 seconds and counting. All systems are go. We're about 90 seconds from the launch of Space Shuttle Discovery. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. We are transferring to orbiter internal power at this time. Discovery is now running off its 3 onboard fuel cells. Coming up on a go for auto sequence start. And we have a go for auto sequence start. Discovery's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions. T-minus 17 seconds and counting. 15, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, start, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions beyond. shuttle as it breaks through the side yard. Discovery already at 3.5 miles at altitude, 1.5 miles downrange, travel level 740 miles an hour. Everything looking good on the road. 7 seconds into the flight. Solid rocket booster separation confirmed. Guidance now converging. Discovery's onboard computers commanding the main engine nozzles to swivel, aiming the shuttle for its precise target in space for main engine cutoff.
Should have a good forward leg now and in.
You sound good.
Discovery Houston, negative return.
Copy, negative return.